Ordination, like any young priest will say, you go through the ordination and you're almost in another world. I remember asking our Blessed Mother, just before the bishop laid his hands on me, I said, Our Lady, please help me to be a good priest, whatever else happens.
I remember being very afraid the week before, and I was praying, and that day before the ordination, God has a way sometimes of just kind of smacking you between the eyes in a gentle, loving way. And I just kind of heard this interior voice, get over yourself, it's not about you. It's like, oh, God has a way of really putting it in real simple terms. It's like, oh, you're right.
Everybody else had left the sacristy to go to the main entrance of the cathedral, and it was just the bishop and I. It was Bishop Roberto Gonzalez. And I was just about to go out the door when he was right behind me, and he placed his hand upon my shoulder, and he said, Don't worry. There's going to be people around you all your life. Don't worry. I thought, oh my gosh, that was a boost, actually, for me right there.
When I was lying face first, prostrate on the floor at the cathedral on my ordination day, I remember distinctly thinking, why me? Why have you chosen me? I'm not anybody that is super gifted, or I'm not anybody that is really that holy, but yet here I am. And I remember thinking, Lord, I lay my life before you. You use it as you will. And it was just a tremendous moment of surrender, and I think it really hit me there that was a true gift, that God had called me to the priesthood.
Well, it's an emotional time. When you think about all of the people who've come before you, when you're lying there and we're singing and asking the intercession of the saints, you know that we come from a long spiritual lineage, and that we all have to build on what those have come before us, and it's a beautiful thing to be part of that.
It was an affirmation of not just the parish, but the diocesan family being there. The church was packed. You could look at the face and say, I know that person, I know that person. It was not like strangers. And so there was this sense of, this is a community celebration. It was very affirming in that sense. It was also like a good send-off, like we affirm this is where you belong.
Part of the ritual, yes, is that how he anoints your hands. Well, Bishop Roberto didn't just anoint the palm of my hands. He went in between my fingers, on top of my hands, and under my fingernails, the whole thing, both hands, the whole hand. That, these hands then are consecrated, to our Lord, to the church.
So when I came to the day of ordination, I had no fear. I was kind of walking on the clouds, and I was just filled with joy and anticipation. And it was a 3-hour ceremony. It felt like about a 45-minute ceremony. So, very beautiful.
We often have doubts, even up until the last moment, but, God gives us the grace. He supplies us with what we need, and He enables us to do what is called of us.
As we stood at the doors of the cathedral, and I looked down the aisle, and I looked up at the altar of God, I truly knew it's exactly where God wanted me to be that day. The same little boy who knelt at that altar was being called to that same altar that day to have my soul, my life transformed in service to him and to his church. The bishop's homily was so impactful that day about the emphasis on service, humility, and what it means to be in the person of Christ in the priesthood was just absolutely beautiful. And then he laid hands on me, and all the theology that we read about that in school, how the imposition of hands is when it happens, and the prayer of ordination is when it happens, and knowing that I was participating in that same ancient tradition was overwhelming. It was absolutely beautiful. And it came time finally for the first time that I would concelebrate a mass, and I remember standing at the altar with the bishop, and I wasn't serving at the Mass anymore. I was celebrating it with the bishop. The first time that I walked up to the altar and, did the orans and said the prayer of concelebration, knowing that that's something only a priest can do, I felt transformed. Knowing that I'm a priest forever is something that is just so overwhelmingly beautiful that I can't even put into words what kind of gift that is from God. So it's an amazing gift.